Hey, welcome to Following Science, where we explore the discoveries and scientific trends that are reshaping our understanding of the world today. I'm your host, Ritu Parle, and today we're going to be diving deep into a topic that intersects two of the most significant health challenges of our time: heart disease and Alzheimer's disease. Now, I'll be real, at first glance, these two conditions might appear to be completely unrelated. Because, after all, heart disease affects the cardiovascular system, the heart, and the blood vessels, while Alzheimer's disease targets the brain, leading to progressive cognitive decline. However, groundbreaking research is beginning to reveal that these two seemingly distinct diseases might share more in common than we previously thought, particularly at the genetic level. So, today we're going to unpack this complex and intriguing connection. We're going to start by understanding the basics of heart disease and Alzheimer's disease before exploring the genetic factors that might link them. We'll discuss key genes like APOE, examine the role of inflammation as a possible common pathway, and consider how lifestyle factors might play into the relationship between heart and brain health. We'll also look at what this connection could mean for future research and treatment strategies. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a deeper understanding of how maintaining heart health might not just protect you from cardiovascular disease, but also from cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's. To get us started, let's dive right into heart disease. Now, when we talk about heart disease, we're actually referring to a broad category of conditions that affect the heart and blood vessels. Now, the most common type is coronary artery disease, which is often the precursor to heart attacks. Now, coronary artery disease develops when the coronary arteries, the vessels that supply oxygen-rich blood to the heart muscle, become narrowed or blocked due to a buildup of plaque. Now, plaque is a sticky substance made up of fat, cholesterol, calcium, and other materials found in the blood. Over time, this plaque can harden and restrict blood flow to the heart, a condition known as atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis can lead to a variety of serious cardiovascular events. If a piece of plaque breaks off, it can form a blood clot that might particularly or completely block the flow of blood to the heart muscle, causing a heart attack. Now, depending on the location of the blockage, this can result in significant damage to the heart muscle, and in severe cases, it can be fatal. Now, beyond coronary artery disease, heart disease also includes conditions like heart failure, where the heart is unable to pump blood effectively, and arrhythmias, which are irregular heartbeats that can lead to strokes or sudden cardiac death. Now, the risk factors for heart disease are well documented and include both lifestyle and genetic components. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity are all significant contributors to the development of heart disease. But genetics also plays a crucial role. For instance, mutations in genes responsible for lipid metabolism, such as those involved in the synthesis and breakdown of cholesterol, can predispose individuals to conditions like familial hypercholesterolemia. This genetic disorder leads to extremely high levels of LDL cholesterol from a young age, significantly increasing the risk of early onset coronary artery disease. Now that we've covered heart disease, let's shift our focus to Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, accounting for the majority of dementia cases worldwide. It is a progressive neurodegenerative disorder characterized by the gradual loss of memory, cognitive abilities, and ultimately the ability to carry out simple daily tasks. Now, Alzheimer's disease is marked by the accumulation of two abnormal protein structures in the brain: amyloid plaques and tau tangles. Amyloid plaques form when fragments of a protein called amyloid beta clump together between nerve cells, disrupting cell-to-cell communication. Tau tangles, on the other hand, are twisted fibers of another protein called tau that build up inside cells, leading to the disintegration of the cell transport system. Now, of course, the exact cause of Alzheimer's remains elusive, but it's generally accepted that a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors contribute to the disease. Age is the most significant risk factor because most people with Alzheimer's, if we look, are just 65 and older. However, of course, genetics also plays a significant role, like it does in literally every single disease, especially in early onset Alzheimer's, which can occur in individuals as young as their 30s or even their 40s. Now, one of the most well-known genetic risk factors for Alzheimer's is the APOE gene, specifically the APOE4 variant, which significantly increases the likelihood of developing the disease. Now, if you want to know more about this APOE gene, I've had a whole new episode about it just because it was so interesting and just because there were so many advancements going on with that specific gene and that specific variant. So make sure you check out that episode right after you finish this one. Now, as we explore the connection between heart disease and Alzheimer's, it is important to understand that these conditions have traditionally been viewed as distinct, each with its own set of risk factors, symptoms, and treatment approaches. Heart disease is typically managed by cardiologists, while Alzheimer's falls under the purview of neurologists and geriatricians. However, a growing body of research suggests that the separation between these two fields may be more artificial than we thought. In fact, there's increasing evidence that heart health are connected and that the same genetic and biological processes might underlie both heart disease and Alzheimer's. Now, let's dive into the genetics of this condition, or rather, should I say, connection. Genes are the blueprints for all the proteins in our body, and they play a critical role in determining our susceptibility to various diseases. In fact, over the years, researchers have identified numerous genes associated with an increased risk of heart disease and Alzheimer's. Interestingly, some of these genes are linked to both conditions, suggesting a shared genetic pathway that influences both cardiovascular and neurological health. Now, one of the most significant genetic links between heart disease and Alzheimer's is something I've already mentioned before, which is the APOE gene. The APOE gene provides instructions for making a protein which is essential for the metabolism of fats, including cholesterol in the body. Now, there are three major alleles, or versions of the APOE gene, starting with APOE2, APOE3, and the most commonly heard one, APOE4. Now, the APOE3 is the most common and it's considered the most neutral, meaning that it does not significantly impact the risk of either heart disease or Alzheimer's. The APOE2 allele is less common and appears to be protective, reducing the risk of both conditions, which is super cool. It's like a defensive gene slash variant. Now, however, let's move on to the APOE4 allele, which is of particular interest. Approximately 15 to 25% of the population carries at least one copy of the APOE4 allele, and these individuals are at an increased risk for both heart disease and Alzheimer's. So, if you think about it, it's kind of like the evil opposite twin of the very good witch APOE2 allele, which is protective, defensive, helpful, and then there's APOE4, which is super harmful for us. Now, people with one copy of APOE4 are at roughly 2 to 3 times the risk of developing Alzheimer's compared to those without the allele. Now, those with 2 copies of APOE4, one inherited from each parent, are at an even higher risk, potentially up to 12 times greater than those with the APOE3 allele. So, how does the APOE4 influence both heart disease and Alzheimer's? In the context of heart disease, APOE4 is associated with higher levels of LDL cholesterol, or the bad cholesterol, and it contributes to the formation of the atherosclerotic plaques in the arteries. Now, elevated LDL cholesterol levels are at a well-known risk factor for coronary artery disease, and individuals with the APOE4 gene, or rather allele, often have higher cholesterol levels than those with other APOE variants. This increased cholesterol can lead to the development of atherosclerosis, which is the underlying cause of most heart attacks and strokes. Now, in the brain, APOE4 has a different but equally detrimental effect. One of the key processes in Alzheimer's disease is the accumulation of amyloid beta plaques, which interfere with neuron function and trigger a cascade of events leading to cell death. Normally, the APOE protein helps clear amyloid beta from the brain, but the APOE4 variant is less effective at this task. As a result, individuals with the APOE4 allele are more likely to accumulate amyloid plaques, which is a hallmark of the Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, APOE4 may also impair the blood-brain barrier, a protective layer that prevents harmful substances in the blood from entering the brain. A compromised blood-brain barrier could also allow toxic substances to reach the brain, contributing to neuroinflammation and neuronal damage, which is crazy, like literally incredibly crazy. Now, the APOE4 allele's involvement in both cholesterol metabolism and amyloid beta clearance illustrates a critical point. The same genetic factors that increase the risk of cardiovascular disease can also increase the risk of Alzheimer's. This overlap suggests that the biological pathways underlying these diseases are interconnected, and that interventions targeting only one pathway could potentially benefit both conditions. Now, another important link between heart disease and Alzheimer's is inflammation. Inflammation is a natural response to injury or infection, designed to protect the body by isolating and eliminating harmful agents and repairing damaged tissue. However, chronic inflammation, where the inflammatory response is prolonged or excessive, can be harmful and is implicated in the development of both heart disease and Alzheimer's. In heart disease, chronic inflammation is a key player in the development and progression of atherosclerosis. The buildup of plaque in the arteries triggers an immune response, with white blood cells flocking to the site of the plaque in an attempt to clear it. This process, while initially protective, can lead to further plaque instability. Now, when a plaque becomes unstable, it is more likely to rupture, leading to the formation of a blood clot that can block blood flow to the heart or brain, causing a heart attack or stroke. Similarly, inflammation is also implicated in the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. In the brain, the accumulation of amyloid beta plaques and the tau tangles triggers an inflammatory response. Microglia, the brain's resident immune cells, attempts to clear these abnormal proteins. However, in Alzheimer's, this response becomes chronic, leading to sustained inflammation that damages neurons and contributes to the progression of neurodegeneration. Several genetic markers associated with inflammation suggest variants in the IL-1A and IL-1B genes have been linked to an increased risk of both heart disease and Alzheimer's. Now, these genes encode proteins involved in the inflammatory response, and their variants may lead to an exaggerated or prolonged inflammatory state, contributing to both cardiovascular and neurological damage. Now, given these shared genetic and inflammatory pathways, it is worth considering how lifestyle factors might also influence the relationship between heart disease and Alzheimer's. Now, we know that lifestyle choices such as diet, exercise, smoking have a profound impact on heart health. I mean, smoking obviously affects the health in a really, really good way. No, I'm just kidding. Don't smoke, guys. But in the end, we all know that it's becoming really increasingly clear that it's the same factors that also play a critical role in brain health. For instance, a diet high in saturated fats and sugars can contribute to the development of atherosclerosis, which can increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes. The same diet, however, can also lead to the accumulation of amyloid beta in the brain, which exacerbates the risk of Alzheimer's. Exercise, on the other hand, which I know is all of our favorite words because we love to exercise. No, even I don't, and I'm the one who's preaching it. But exercise offers a protective benefit for both the heart and the brain. Regular physical activity helps maintain cardiovascular health by reducing blood pressure, improving cholesterol levels, and enhancing overall circulation. It also promotes brain health by increasing blood flow to the brain, reducing inflammation, and stimulating the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, because that's a really, really long name. Now, this is a protein that supports the growth and survival of neurons. Furthermore, exercise has been shown to reduce the accumulation of amyloid beta and tau proteins in the brain, suggesting that it may help protect against Alzheimer's disease. So basically, that all means that when you exercise, you're not just protecting your physical health, no, you're also protecting your brain health. So kids, if you have a test one day, you want to protect your brain health, go hit the gym. And adults, same for you. You want to get that job, you want to do good that one project, then go exercise. It's going to help your brain health. No, I mean, it doesn't really work that way, but that's how I take it. It's good motivation to exercise. Now, another lifestyle factor, because we gotta move on some point, is smoking. Now, smoking is a well-established risk factor for heart disease, as it damages the lining of the arteries, leading to atherosclerosis and increases the risk of blood clots. But smoking also has a detrimental effect on brain health. It's associated with increased oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, which can then accelerate the development of Alzheimer's disease. Moreover, smoking is also linked to a faster decline in cognitive function and an increased risk of dementia in general, not just Alzheimer's. The relationship between heart disease and Alzheimer's is also further complicated by the fact that the same vascular factors that contribute to heart disease can also impair brain function. Vascular dementia, the second most common form of dementia after Alzheimer's, is caused by reduced blood flow to the brain, often as a result of strokes or small vessel disease. However, many people with Alzheimer's also have evidence of vascular damage in their brains, suggesting that the boundaries between different types of dementia are not as clear cut as we once thought. In fact, it's increasingly recognized that Alzheimer's and vascular dementia often coexist, with each condition potentially exacerbating the other. So when we look at those advertisements that are telling us to stop smoking, oftentimes they're right. So, what does this all mean for future research and treatment strategies? Well, one of the most exciting implications of this genetic and biological overlap is the potential for developing new treatments that target both heart disease and Alzheimer's simultaneously. For example, drugs that lower cholesterol or reduce inflammation might not only protect against heart attacks but also slows the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Similarly, lifestyle interventions that promote cardiovascular health, such as diet and exercise, could also help prevent or delay the onset of Alzheimer's. There's also a growing interest in the use of genetic information to personalize treatment strategies. With advances in genomics, we can now identify individuals who carry variants like APOE4 that puts them at a higher risk for both heart disease and Alzheimer's. For these individuals, a more aggressive approach to managing cardiovascular risk factors might be warranted, not just to prevent heart disease, but also to protect brain health. Now, this could include earlier and more intensive use of statins to lower cholesterol, as well as lifestyle interventions tailored to reducing the risk of both conditions. In conclusion, the connection between heart disease and Alzheimer's represents a new frontier in the understanding of complex diseases. By recognizing the genetic and biological links between these conditions, we can develop more holistic approaches to prevention and treatment that address both cardiovascular and brain health. This integrated perspective has the potential to improve outcomes for millions of people, particularly as our population ages and the burdens of these diseases continues to grow. Now, I know that was a lot, and I thank you all for staying with me for this long. So, if you did, give yourself a pat on the back because you just learned a lot of new things, which you can probably go tell your best friend all about because I know that's your favorite conversation to have. Now, as I wrap up this episode, I really do want to thank you all for joining me on this episode of Following Science. I truly appreciate you guys, especially when I get your emails talking about like what you want to hear next or just how you found the episode. I really, really, truly enjoy it. Now, I hope you found this exploration of the genetic link between heart disease and Alzheimer's as fascinating and informative as I did. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you would like to explore in the future episodes, please don't hesitate to reach out. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the science that's shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious and keep following science. This is your host, Rachel Parle, signing off.